I'm excited. We have Living Well in the house, so feel free to share this out. Let us know what you got going on. What are you dealing with? You're going to get some head knowledge today. I can promise you that. I'm going to kick this on the FM. Here we go. Good morning. It's Kickstart. My name is Gardy, and I have some friends in studio from Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we're going to have some fun and spread some head knowledge today.
Hey, yeah. So this is Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, Dr. Aaron Chapa and Jennifer Withy. We are excited to bring you just that, something more that you can put into your head. But hopefully this will be applicable. Hopefully this will educate you a little bit to realize just how important you are, how worth it you are. To invest in yourself is an important piece of the health and wellness journey. And we're finding more and more people being so busy that they are just not taking the bull by the horns. They're not appreciating their part in the game. And every week we come into this radio with a heart to share knowledge with our people, with people that want to just explore, kick the tires a little bit in this health and wellness journey, people that are serious about like going the distance and really trying to maximize their longevity curve. You know, if you have any symptom pattern, whether it is skin issues to headaches to blood pressure to anxiety to GI problems, sleep issues, really it doesn't matter, because all life starts and stops where?
At the cellular level.
That's correct. That's correct. And all life being starting at the cellular level, we know nutrition drives it all. And it drives it in a direction that allows the body to perform at optimal capacity, or, unfortunately, slip down the slippery slope to symptom land, or worse, disease, diagnostic, pathology. We don't want you to go down that other road. You know, both paths leads to death, right? But it's a lot more enjoyable whenever you've got some stake in the game, some aspect of control that you're taking part in. And I think that there's a little bit of a misconception today that life just happens to us because we get old, doesn't it?
I think there's a huge conception that life happens because we get old, that we age because we get old, we have symptoms because we get old. We hear that all day long, and people, I think it's become an excuse to some degree that people want to just say, like, it's just the lot in life, and maybe it is the lot when we make the choices that we're making sometimes. So
we're just in the ocean, and it's throwing us around, and we just kind of got to ride the wave. We don't have any control, right?
Yeah, and how hard is that to just let the waves batter and beat us up? But it's a different story when you're being battered and beaten in a slow-moving water versus
boiling water, maybe.
It's boiling
like
water
the
in
boiling
a hurricane,
frog
right? Like
conversation.
It's a different conversation. I got in trouble for talking about that on the air last time.
About boiling a frog?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, it could really upset
By who?
folks.
Someone got mad. I don't
like,
remember.
He was like, "Whoa, that's pretty serious. You're talking about boiling a frog, right?"
Well, but it is interesting, right? I mean, how often do we find ourselves in our circumstance and we don't realize the temperature's getting hot? Meaning we don't realize the symptom patterns are compounding and they're starting to escalate into something more and more serious. And so I think that it's just a matter of helping folks, grasp hold of the concept that they have a part to play. Like, they have to start waking up to the idea that what they put in their body day in and day out. I always like to say, what you eat's important, but what you don't eat is more important. Why? Because when you're feeding disease, that's just it. You're feeding disease. And if you're feeding salads and healthy vegetables and proteins to the diet, then what you're feeding is the good guys. Your cells to perform at an optimal capacity. When we feed sugar and candies and cakes and pastas and pastries,
it's Christmas, dude.
I know. It's tough, right? It's a sad, reality that we have to deal with. Everybody offering us something really delightful and really delicious.
Just making the decision on what to do. But so I'm here today in part because I'm kind of celebrating. Like, I finished my 5th semester of grad school yesterday.
Awesome. It's over. It's done for now, right?
Give me 3 weeks and they'll be back at it. But one more semester to go. So I'm kind of celebrating. And so I thought, since we're always talking about how life starts and stops at the cellular level. I thought I would pitch Dr. Chapa here some softballs and talk about some of those nutrients and the importance of them. But I thought we'd do it in a little bit different way today, because one of the classes I just finished was called Drug-Induced Nutrient Depletions. So what do you think that means, Gardy?
So if I had to guess, drug-induced nutrient depletions, they are taking out nutrients with medicine. Medicines are robbing you from nutrients. That's what I would guess.
Right. So medicine can rob your nutrients. And so sometimes when we talk about medications, people like we're the guys that are over here going, no, you don't want to take that medicine. You don't want to take that medicine. And often people think that you don't want to take medicines because of the side effects, right? Like these side effects, these headaches, people get headaches. They have all kinds of GI issues, things that'll happen, and we think that that's why. But from a nutritional perspective, there's a whole nother piece to this puzzle, in that those medications create nutrient deficiencies, and since all life starts and stops where?
At the cellular level.
Right, since it all starts there, then we have to consider what nutrients our bodies would be depleting. So I just thought I'd throw some of these nutrient depletions out and see what Dr. Chapa has to say about it. What do you think?
I think it sounds fun.
Sounds fun?
I'm
Okay,
excited.
so I figured we'd start with, because medications, I don't want things obscure. I want things that people know about, right? So the word proton pump inhibitor is maybe obscure, but you might know that as something like called Prevacid. So Prevacid has a nutrient depletion for...
Or even more simple, antacids.
Any
Tums.
antacids, right?
Yeah.
So all of those antacids fall in this category. And so, but they are known to deplete vitamin B12. So why would that be important, Dr. Chapa?
Well, I would think that B12 is a key ingredient in neurological function. It's a key ingredient in my favorite, liver detoxification, and which we're coming into the detox program. And so if we're lacking components that drive, say, the detox pathways, remember there's 1,500 different pathways that the liver's working in and around, and the liver must have certain ingredients in and of itself in order to drive these pathways. They're almost like nutrients, can be looked at like keys. And if the key is missing and the door is locked, we, in TRUBLE land, trouble. And so if our body is daily processing our environment, and we are constantly being exposed to chemicals, metals, we are for sure going to be needing a little bit of this B12. B12, I mean, even in pregnancy, very important. We got to have folic acid, B12 present to prevent birth defects. I mean, it's a very key ingredient in many different aspects of our development and our ongoing vitality.
Have you heard of the term anemia?
I have, yeah.
What about you, Gardy? You heard anemia?
Yes.
So what's anemia?
Whenever you get cold.
I like that. No, it is an inability for your body to transport nutrients due to a lack of carrying capacity. The red blood cells either are not present, they're not functional. Think of a school bus broken down on the side of the road, and there's a slew of kids up there that need to be taken to their destination. Well, if we've got too many school kids on the side of the road and not enough school buses trucking them around town to their destination, then we've got a bunch of empty classrooms, correct? Well, that'd be like your nutrients not getting delivered. So these proton pump inhibitors deplete the stomach's ability to break down certain key nutrients. Another one, let me guess, iron.
Iron's actually, I don't have any research to back iron, but it would make sense that it would follow logically because of the inability of the stomach to break it down. But you just pitched me a softball, and so guess what medication does deplete iron for sure?
What medication?
Research. There's plenty of research.
Antacids.
Well, antacids. What else were we talking about? But I'm gonna give you another one. So Synthroid. Synthroid. What
who
is the purpose?
Not on
Synthroid.
thyroid medications.
Thyroid medication.
I knew that.
Every one of the people listening today, for sure, probably knows somebody or personally dealing with a thyroid condition. And Synthroid having the ability to deplete iron.
Which one of
Wow.
the things that I think is interesting with thyroid issues is that some of the actual symptom patterns of thyroid issues, like hair loss, brittle nails,
Could be simply an
is symptom of an
iron.
iron deficiency,
Yeah.
right? So it's like catch-22. They put you on the medicine, the symptoms don't resolve, but we now don't know if it's really the original hypothyroid guess, or was it really, or is it really related to your medication creating another deficiency? So you kind of get stuck when we're doing these, when we're taking these medications. Where
That's
we're
another
stuck for a
thing
long
to
time.
really think about whenever we're looking at medication versus nutrient support, because they're both used to support a condition of sorts, right? Interestingly, though, when we take medications, oftentimes we wind up depleting the body in other departments, if you will. If we were to subcategory,
Robbing Peter to pay Paul, right?
that's the model of medication. And so medications should strictly be used as a temporary Band-Aid if needed, after you've exhausted, first and foremost, what?
all your natural options, all your
Vitamins,
food. What
minerals,
are you doing? What are
food,
you eating?
essential fatty acids, water intake. How much? What are you not eating?
Right.
What can we take out of the system to decrease inflammation? And I think that we take a medication, many people are aware that we take a medication only to find themselves on yet another medication.
Well, and it makes sense though, right? Because if those nutrient depletions are causing, if all nutrients are so key and essential to the body, and that's what drives all of our health and well-being, and if it's going to rob you of some nutrients, then you're going to end up having to take something to deal with that symptom pattern that develops. So we think about them as side effects, and we just don't think about how food is affecting what we're doing. So, all right. So I guess we'll leave that. So I got this really long list. Anybody heard of corticosteroids? You like that word?
I've heard of
Marty?
steroids. Yeah,
So
sometimes
right? Steroids, right? That's
I thought they were vitamins. The guys at the gym.
The
said
vitamins.
they're
That's right. They get all jacked.
that's a
different
that's
steroid?
a different kind of vitamin. We don't really consider
yeah,
that
that's
a
right.
vitamin in our office.
Well, remember we did
We're
talk
kinda
about
odd,
it.
swim upstream.
That's
we
right.
Kinda,
Salmon.
Salmon.
We like salmon.
I like salmon.
I do too, especially on a taco. So no, but
it's not even past breakfast time.
I
dude.
know it, but I
Eat
can
salad
shrimp.
for breakfast.
I could eat
and
salad.
Salmon's like a
and
delicacy.
That's right.
Yeah.
No question.
That's fine.
breakfast.
We'll have salmon.
But if you think
shortly.
about steroids, like we talked about just a few weeks ago on the show, and remember, you can go back and re-listen to some of these shows, and we'll give you some insights to where you can find those shows here in just a second. But we know that steroids are one of the leading contributing factors that cause yeast overgrowth in the body. And we know that if we get too much yeast buildup, it can turn pathological. And when it turns pathological, it wreaks all kinds of havoc from another disease perspective. But go ahead.
All right, you ready for
corticosteroids.
this list? You ready for
I
this
am.
list? So this was those were easy, the first ones, but you ready? This is the potential depletions. Now, if you do a 6-day dose pack once in your lifetime, it isn't going to cause this. But a lot of people end up on long-term steroids because they can't seem to get things under control.
We just had this happen just the other day. We had a patient come in, and they were recommended. I mean, do they even give them a timeline, or is it just
forever
forever they're going to be on steroids?
Yeah.
To treat what?
eczema.
Yeah.
Eczema with
And how many people have, in eczema being a skin condition by definition of an unknown cause, that's what the definition of eczema is. But, I mean, when you see the treatment is a forever drug, you should scratch your head and go, whoa, 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 whoa. That'd be like, just accepting that there's really no understanding of what the underlying cause is. And at Living Well, we've always sought to find the underlying cause of why people's bodies break down and where those either nutrients or depletion issues are, or where the organ systems themselves are breaking down, driving the function of that disease.
Yeah, so long-term steroid use can lead to these depletions. You ready? Calcium, folic acid, magnesium, potassium, selenium, vitamin C, zinc, chromium, and vitamin A, and leads to an increased need for vitamin D because of the calcium depletion. So when you talk about like the balance between calcium and magnesium and vitamin
Phosphorus.
D and how they all work together, a depletion of one part of the mechanism creates increased need for the remaining items. So things can get more of a balance.
Out of balance. Yeah,
right?
and so selenium, for example, just go down that list again. We'll start from the top.
So we'll start at the top. So calcium.
So calcium, the number one mineral that drives your immune system. You know, it's vitally important.
Isn't that interesting? Because the eczema is often a overreactive immune system, right?
So the last thing we want is to have an immune system that's confused.
We didn't need any confusion.
We don't need any more systemic skin irritations either. So, okay, what about just in children, calcium, bone development, right?
Forget the kids.
Oh, wait,
some of us old ladies need to.
Okay, so we're starting to
development.
remember the stories that when you have osteoporosis or osteopenia or some sort of bone disorder in your later years. We're going to say later years. That way we don't offend
anybody in the room.
And hey, you stepped in that pothole. I didn't put you there. We go, oh, yeah, osteoporosis is a childhood disorder. It's not a current problem. Now, just because
it is a current problem now, though.
It is.
Like once you get there, it's too late, right? I wish I could go back. I mean, this is where we go back and we say, when the calcium reserves build up in the body between 18 and 25, right? Like I'd like to go back, but all we can do is yell louder so that the 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds start hearing us before they turn 30.
Find themselves in the same boat. And that's a truth. But, I mean, we don't want to give no hope to those that are in the osteopenic, osteoporotic state. I mean, there are things we can do. But, I mean, obviously, if you've been depleted of calcium, magnesium, phosphorus ratio balance for that length of time, for you to be in a state right now with bone disorders, that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, that person is going to also have immune problems. And everybody right now still, would like to, they're starting to recognize this thing called an immune system, which we don't call an immune system. We call it an immune alliance, because there is no true system in the body that is your immune system. You have
the whole body has to work together.
The whole body has to work together. It is a full body routine.
Which part of the watch tells time? Chapa?
I don't know. You tell us, Gardy. I need some help with that. Which part of the watch tells time?
You need all of it.
You need all of it.
Every piece.
By golly,
right?
you need it all.
And going back to that whole conversation about the calcium and the calcium reserves and all that, there's, we go back to a lot of our little slogans. They're there where they're so important, because what's the best time to plant an oak tree?
A long time ago, 30 years ago.
Long time ago, right? And so if you're dealing with osteoporosis, osteopenia, it would have been a good idea. But it's not any better to not start now. You need to at least start now. We got to help the body, give it the nutrients it needs to do the best it can. And it's really, I think, what amazes us is that we see miracles every day where, you just give it a little bit of the right thing and you get change and you get improvement. And it's like, how did that work? How did that little bit make this big difference that started 30, 40 years ago?
And then you could just flip it on the other side. It's amazing to see some of the food logs that come into the office, to see what people are consuming that they legitimately think is food, but it's really a no-no food or sometimes food. And there's very little real nutrient-dense foods on that menu.
Right. It's really hard. So I think one of the other ones that is kind of key here.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to keep looking at you're just looking at this idea of nutrients. I mean, we're looking at steroids. I mean, a lot of people are on steroids. So what was after the calcium?
Calcium. So, the magnesium. So that's related. We've already kind of talked about that.
Yep.
So the selenium. What would loss of selenium do to the body?
It's a disruptor in not only liver, but the thyroid conversion of T4 hormone, your inactive thyroid production, to active T3 hormone, so metabolic function. So now we have a decrease in metabolic activity. This is definitely nobody's place to want to go. If I, said, who wants no energy today? The room would be a pin drop.
That would be a good way to lose all your clients.
Yes,
hey, we're going for no energy this
your
month.
Practice this year, No, we're going for a world record.
We're going for the world record.
We want
125 fully functional in spirit, mind, and body, right?
And I'm thinking, when you say that, fully functional in spirit, mind, and body, that means energy and vitality, mental clarity.
I'm thinking energy. I'm thinking energy is a good plan on that. So one of the other ones that I think is really fascinating with this is that zinc is one of the ones that will get depleted. And when zinc is depleted, it slows wound healing.
Well,
among other things, right?
Isn't it interesting? Wound healing. So one of the number one zinc supporters your skin needs is zinc. But zinc has over how many different enzymatic functions? We'll just see.
Over 300.
Over 300. Gardy, could you imagine if 300 tasks weren't getting done day to day, week to week in your organization?
Fall behind.
We would fall way behind.
Quick, fast, and in a hurry. It still amazes me that you can have zinc deficiencies because 95 out of 100 people fail our zinc test, right? And the body still performs at a reasonable, functional level that people settle for.
But that's God's grace, right?
I think that is God's grace, for sure, because it doesn't make sense to me how you could be that far behind schedule. But then you think about it, what does behind schedule really mean in the body, from a body perspective?
It just means we have to slow things down.
Things slow down. Symptoms start cropping up. The body starts to, develop things we don't like. Maybe it's skin tags, for example. You go, well, it's just because I'm getting old. No, that's your body's inability to detox, and your body says, I'm just going to build a little subunit warehouse that it's going to cost you, $100 a month at the old storage unit to put the junk in there that you can't deal with right now. But I'm going to build it for you, and so it just amazes me that the body is communicating always.
Always. Well, and I thought another one that's really interesting on this steroid conversation is vitamin A.
Another skin. Another immune, another GI,
right?
I mean,
it's like a body uses it for everything, and we're risking that, right? And so when you're going long-term steroid use, you have a lot of potential nutrient deficiencies. So if for some reason you're in a situation where you've reached the point where you need that steroid from your medical doctor, you feel like we've reached that point, and I don't really know what else to do. You really, at the minimum, need to let us come alongside you and fill up the nutrient bucket that is being depleted.
And not as a B team player. Hey, I'm just gonna let you do a little stuff. No. We need to be full on, full bore, because the goal is to get you off the need for whatever suppression that you're trying to suppress. Whatever condition you have that's out of control, whatever inflammatory response that's going off, however high your C-reactive protein levels are on your blood panels or your liver enzymes being elevated, we've got to find, quickly a way to suppress that fire.
Absolutely. So a lot of times when people are sick, what's the first thing they go get?
Vitamin C.
Oh,
I like that. I do like that.
I mean, maybe things, the tide is turning. They're turning to the vitamin C. Now, we might have to have a conversation about what kind of vitamin C you're going after.
This is true. You cannot use just ascorbic acid or just simply bioflavonoids. It needs to be the full complex. And so at Living Well, we have the full complex. We have vegetarian versions of it. We've got food versions of it. I mean, it's amazing to see what is available. I had a patient yesterday. Well, isn't there enough foods out there that can give me adequate vitamin C? And there is. Just most people are putting in too much. Say, for example, fruit. For example, yes, it's high in vitamin C, but when all you consume is fruit, it can also potentially, wreak havoc in other areas as well. So.
It's one of the causes of fatty liver disease, right?
It's like non-alcoholic fatty liver syndrome. I mean, it's just scary, like, what? Fruit can do that? Yeah, because it is only processed through the liver, and it's another stressor. Right? And so it sounds like, I'm I'm doomed either way. You know what? I can't eat healthy. I can't, take a drug. And so, what do? No, it's just about understanding the balance. I mean, last night at the Macrofix class, we were talking about one of the cool things about the Macrofix program is it gives people just boundaries to kind of play with food. All right, well, this is a little bit too high in carb. This is too high in sugar. This is too high in fat. This is not enough protein. This allows you to start putting recognition to things that should be innate to us, but we're surrounded by so much fake foods out there, and we know what happens when we eat make-believe food.
Make-believe health.
Make-believe health. You can't expect to get well, stay well, and be well if you're going to live on make-believe food. You just can't do it. Man, my grocery bill would be a lot lower because I could just go in there and lick the plastic, but I just don't think that's going to work for us.
Not for me.
No. Or for my kids even. I mean, as much as they like, the little ones like playing with the kitchen, the toy
plastic
kitchen.
Food toys?
The plastic food toys. It just doesn't seem to be as filling.
No, not at the end of the day. Somehow they end up, needing a snack after that game.
Yeah.
So, but when you're really sick, Artie, like the vitamin C, I tried the vitamin C, which most of the time we tried the ascorbic acid, so we didn't really try vitamin C. But after that, they get really sick. They go to the
doctor and they give them a steroid.
They give them a steroid or the antibiotics, right? And so the antibiotics are the next one. And so we, that's one of our kind of like pet peeve, like stay away,
yes,
like danger. And we're always trying to, we look like, we're gonna, you're gonna die because you didn't get the antibiotics. Well, that's not really true because like human existence was prior to the discovery of antibiotics, right? And then there are some herbs that provide natural antibiotic function. So it's not that we don't need to rebalance the gut flora at times and get the bad guys under wraps. It's just a matter of how much we want to do. So these broad spectrum antibiotics create all kinds of nutrient deficiencies.
And again, it goes back to that mindset. I mean, the people of the world today look at antibiotics like a multivitamin, like an over-the-counter, easy, it's a safe drug that it's not going to hurt me. But they don't realize that like one round of antibiotics can set us back.
Right.
6-9 months.
Right. And so it's going to deplete your healthy gut flora. And I think that's kind of been the why you'll hear people talking about probiotics so much, because if you're taking antibiotics, probiotics are the theoretical solution to that, in that it's going to help your body build back up the flora. But you have to not just use the lactobacillus and the bifido. That one drives me crazy. It's too long of a word. Bifidobacteria.
That's
okay,
that's a probiotic.
That's the probiotics that people are in most of your over-the-counter probiotics on the grocery store shelf. But one of the ones that we like to recommend is Saccharomyces boulardii. And so because Saccharomyces has the best indicators for the best research behind it about actually rebuilding your gut flora. So we can either get renters to come in, or we can actually just put
fix your own foundation.
We're going to fix the problem. And so the Saccharomyces has that better research behind it, but I think there's a lot of things we probably still don't know, and there's probably a lot of others that we don't know about. So it's going to affect your healthy gut flora if you're taking an antibiotic. So if that happens to you, we go, okay, well, if that's the only thing that goes wrong and we have probiotics, we'd be fine, right? Except that's not the only thing that goes wrong. So all your B vitamins are potentially depleted. Your vitamin K. So
now this is from antibiotics?
Yes, like your broad spectrum antibiotics. So why do we need vitamin K?
Oh, well, without vitamin K, you can't, work with the vitamin D pathways.
Right. Balances vitamin D, vitamin K, and also vitamin K has a significance for proper blood clotting.
I thought you were going to say it's the key to clotting. Key.
Vitamin K.
Vitamin K.
Vitamin K.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, but if you're, you have a round of antibiotics, and then after your antibiotics, you find that your blood's not clotting well, then we might have had a vitamin K deficiency that happened during this round of antibiotics. Your B vitamins, since the gut is affected from your from the bacteria, the healthy bacteria leaving, then those healthy bacteria, one of their jobs is to synthesize the B vitamins. So that means synthesize means they make it for you.
Isn't that nice?
Isn't that a brilliant plan? And so we don't have to eat near as much if the gut's doing its job.
That's right. If the gut is in balance, then good things happen. If the gut is out of balance because we keep dropping atomic bombs on it, like an antibiotic or even steroids, what winds up happening is this imbalance creates a safe haven for pathogens, for overgrowth of the wrong stuff. That overgrowth then further causes depletion in the body. It causes those B vitamin reserves that we had manufactured prior to start being, crashing out. And now you're starting to see, primarily we haven't talked about what is the value of B vitamins, but everything. Energy for just as a case in point, cellular vitality,
energy production. Right, your body can't make the energy molecule ATP without B vitamins. All of your B vitamins are important there, particularly your folic acid, your B6, and your B12.
And I'll just say it now. I was going to wait to the end, but just because people are coming and going on our live stream, but definitely early, I just want people to be reminded is as we go through this, it sounds like again, like, oh, man, this sounds really complicated. Like, where do I start? Well, all life starts and stops where?
At the cellular level.
And what drives it?
Nutrition. Always
So
nutrition.
you don't have to know which specific B vitamins you need if you're eating a robust, well-rounded, real food-based diet. And if you don't know what that is, if you are even remotely needing a check on that, then you definitely need coaching. And that Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, that's what we're doing. We're coaching people back to ideal health through real food processes, supplemental intervention to help their bodies get a handle on these imbalances in order to give their body the gusto, the vim, vigor, and vip in order to keep trucking down the line drug-free, surgery-free, disease process-free, so that we can get them to the finish line fully functional in spirit, mind, and body. I mean, yes, stuff does happen even with people that think they're doing everything right.
I think that's the natural part of the world, is that we have to realize that we're not going to get to live in a perfect world. And some of the modern conveniences that we have, such as our automobiles, like, they do create toxicity that we have to then go ahead and deal with. And that's where it's like, that's a
cell phones, provide
constantly.
a fair, that when you look at, biological development in housing, one of the number one things of electromagnetic pollution, cell phones. Every form of technology comes with a new potential human burden for us to deal with day in and day out. And so the whole idea here is to help give the body enough resources to combat and to overcome and to strategize a way around it. And see, that is the beauty of God's grace, is just because technology keeps evolving, it didn't shock God that we're still trying to build the Tower of Babel.
What I think also is interesting, though, is that as these burdens come on our systems, the burdens actually help teach us what vitamins and nutrients our body actually needs. So the burdens teach us these other things about health and wellness, so that we are continually learning, continually able to figure things out. So a lot of the nutrients, they didn't discover them until they had the medications causing the depletion. So then they discover the nutrients that will support the body so that the body can heal. And so it just somehow, where along the way we kind of forgot, and we went, okay, we're going to just we'll deal with that nutrition thing later. And so, and life got, honestly, busier. You started out just talking about that. And the busier it is, the more convenient we want our food to be. And so we don't spend hours and hours in the kitchen hanging out with, our kids and our grandma and everybody else cooking, except for that one, 2 days a year, Thanksgiving and Christmas. We spend all that time.
And it's baking the good sweets and the cakes and the pies.
Yeah, we don't do the day to day, right?
Yeah.
And so But normally, if we'd go back and we say, okay, if you spend some time on the day-to-day, cooking and focusing on good nutrition, we'd probably have, a little bit easier time. We wouldn't have to think about the details. I think, some people may be getting bogged down in, oh my gosh, like there's a lot of details in all of that. You started out, you're like, we're going to get some head knowledge. Well, like now you're like, oh, we're head swimming because I got to remember all these. You don't have to remember all these nutrient deficiencies. You really don't, because if you take a food-based multivitamin, like you got a pretty good start.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
one of ours has just carrots in it, carrot roots, which has 200 phytonutrients and phytochemicals. Your body can do
a little bit of vitamin C much?
Your body can do a ton with that. And again, goes back to the body really doesn't need a lot of support. I mean, based on what we're seeing with people coming in with the fake food model, they have put themselves on a track 1 degree off path and found themselves in a place where they have symptoms. But very effortlessly, we're able to kind of start steering them back in the direction and even turning the sail and catching a different drift back towards ideal health. They start seeing improvement. Now, it doesn't always go away overnight. I mean, for example, like when we look at these skin condition cases, it takes 30 days for the skin to turn over, right? So, but oftentimes, even through the holidays, just in a 3-week window, I saw a skin case resolve and not resolve, but improve, 15%. And it's a lifelong skin problem, right? So we can't expect it to go away in 20 days, but I will tell you that my first introduction to this stuff was a guy with psoriasis head to foot. I built him a digestive liver protocol to help restore leaky gut, to restore the balance of health and wellness in his GI tract, to purge trash and debris out of his liver. And to my ignorance, like I didn't know what I was doing. I was following somebody else's guidance and knowledge that they had gleaned in 20 years of their experiences. And they were coaching me how to coach this person. And lo and behold, 18 days later, I thought in 30 days we might get some improvement. It was so dramatic. The blood scabs went away. The crustiness went away. And this was after a seminar when I was in school. And I'm like, what?
That's the
in
miracle,
the
right?
world
It's the miracle.
that
You
I
give
just see
the body
happen?
just a little bit of support and things happen. And, even I think we forget that it's still a miracle if it takes a year.
Yeah.
It's still a miracle. Like, especially, I don't know how many people come into us and say, well, this is just, I have to live with this for the rest of my life. Like, this is just, I've just reached that point. And so it does take some work. It does take some
That would be what
nutrition.
I would call the medical rock bottom, whenever you just kind of accept, well, I'm doomed to live this way. And instead of looking for what, I call the workaround. There's always a workaround. There's always a way to stay active even when you're injured. There's always a way to figure out another solution or another angle. Because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, we know that that's insanity. Well, let's just stop
doing the same thing.
Doing the same thing every day. Let's change it. So if you eat the same 11 foods over and over again, because again, last night at the Macrofix class, we were talking about this, and last week when we were talking about sugar at the sugar class of how to bake without, refined sugars, we found the average American is eating the same 10 to 11 meals over and over and over again. So if you have a disease process happening in your body that is even diagnosable, or just to your point where you're just like, you know what, this is a burr in my saddle, I'm ready to get it out. Well, great. We want you to get it out. And I know where y'all are all thinking. You're all thinking with your hind end. But here's the deal. When you change the game, let's change breakfast. Let's change the fluid intake. Let's change the way we go about our day and start looking at the intentionality that it might take to bring back restoration. I was telling some friends yesterday, like, I've messed up a lot of things with these hands. But through God and the philosophy of chiropractic, we believe up, down, inside, out. Like, God works through these hands and can bring restoration. And so we can use all this head knowledge through a gentle application, we can see mammoth change and mammoth repletion and restoration begin to take hold. And it gives people hope, and it gives people the courage to go, okay, maybe there is something, a part I can play in this.
Right. Taking a hold of what you can in this conversation. I think some of the things about medications, though, is just how benign we think they are. They're not benign. They have their functions. They have their places, but there's a price to pay. Just like all of our technology, there's a price to pay on all of it. So you want to go through a couple more?
Of course.
All right, let's go. Okay, so how about oral contraceptives, birth control pills?
I don't know much about this one. I'm going to sit this one out.
You're going to sit this one out? He's like, I'm done. I'm not going to talk about this.
I don't know the
I don't want
answer
to talk about this. I want to talk about this. And so you think, because it's a cultural norm, right, to use birth control, and they use birth control even with our young people to regulate cycle issues, and we're regulating the cycle, but nobody's asking, why does this 12-year-old have a abnormal cycle, 14-year-old have an abnormal cycle? We actually need to get to the root of why that's happening instead of Band-Aid covering it up with something that's going to cause them some long-term problems. I had a lady last night, she was talking about that. She was like, they gave me birth control when I was a kid to regulate my cycle, and now I'm 45 and I'm dealing with fibroids and every other condition under the sun. And she's like, I'm not sure it'll ever be normal now. Now that's,
there may be truth to some of that.
That might be true, but it's also, she's doing her part.
That's right.
And she's doing her part, and she's minimizing any of that problems that she's having. She's giving her body what it needs to rebuild. But one of the things that, like, when you read the nutrient depletions on this, B1, B2, B3, B6, folic acid, B12.
That's a lot of B vitamins.
How many Bs are there? That's all of them?
That's most of them. That's most of them.
Does it stop at 12?
That's
the highest
that we know of.
I've never heard of B13.
And I'm going to say that too.
B13.
Is like I believe that there's still nutrients we don't have names for.
There has to be.
Right.
This is just what we are technologically smart enough to come up with.
I saw Ant-Man where they shrink down.
Yeah,
Remember that part? And it's just like
you got to definitely have a lot more nutrition than just basic, bees in order to get that man to shrink like that.
Right.
Definitely, because I know all about that.
Yeah. So, but again, going back to the B vitamin conversation, now all of a sudden we've stifled, we've sabotaged, we've paralyzed cell function. Well, of course a fibroid could develop or a cyst can develop later in life. Now we're backlogging the tissues. Now the body cannot, it's having a hard time. Might as well, apply for bankruptcy, if you will. Well, that is ultimately what
energy
disease.
Bankruptcy, is it not?
And that's what I think disease and these symptoms are, is the body's cashing in on, on a bad alternative,
So, and if you look at these three, the folic acid, the B6, and the B12, when all three of those are involved, it disrupts the regulation of homocysteine. And so, what's the balance of homocysteine? The value of homocysteine? What is that telling us?
Well, number one, it's an inflammatory marker for the heart. So
cardiovascular risk.
Absolutely. And then if it's too high, you'd even see neural degeneration. So brain inflammation, brain decline. So heart, who wants a healthy heart? Yes, please.
Me.
And who would like to have?
I think it's going to be important for that 124th year.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then whenever you look at the the impact of brain function, if you don't get that under control, and that's what we start seeing, is we start seeing elevations above 9.5, 10, 11, and at the higher that goes, not only are you still in a cardiovascular state of risk, now you're bringing your command center and starting to sabotage it. Well, that would make sense, right? Because now you've stressed out the cardiovascular system to a point that your brain is now being infiltrated from a negative space as well.
Yeah. So, and because the B vitamins aren't enough on that conversation, there's a few others. Maybe vitamin C We've already talked about that. Magnesium.
You could
We've
just
already
back
talked
up
about
real
that.
quick, not only just for the vitamin C and the immune system, but there's another key gland that kind of sort of depends on vitamin C. What is it?
The adrenal gland.
Yeah, the adrenal glands. Without healthy vitamin C levels circulating about, your ability to manage and deal with stress is in the tank. Yeah.
It's going downhill.
And quick, fast, in a hurry. So we've got to be okay and alert and aware that we have, again, a part to play. There's no one nutrient that works on only one system. There's a lot of overlap, and when we have these depletions, it manifests in different people. The same depletion can manifest 6 different ways.
Yeah.
Whether they have a chronic immune system, or they're anxious, or they have issues in the GI tract, or they can't think through the day, they can't think through the moment, they can't find the names, numbers, and words. It's a battle. And so that could all be related to one depletion.
Right. And then another one that I hadn't mentioned yet in this group is selenium. And selenium is important for the thyroid. So your entire endocrine axis is going to be a little bit off when you start taking these oral contraceptives for long-term use. And they are not intended for it's not like the antibiotics or the prednisone that you might take for 6 days. This is something people are on for years and years and years. And so the longer you're on a medication, the more likely the nutrient depletion is going to develop. So I think that's a key, especially when we think of things that are, benign.
One of the seminars that I went to many, many years ago, the instructor wrote really big on the screen, infection is infection is infection. Infection is everything. Infection, people, focus in on the infection, because that's what's driving it all. And when I listened to our talk this morning myself, just kind of going through it, I'm listening to antibiotics. Oh, that's a driver of pathogens in the body. To pathogens meaning bugs that when they take take over the house, they start winning. But unfortunately, they're counter to everything that goes in line with fully functional in spirit, mind, and body. It dissolves the vim, vigor, and vip. And so when I hear corticosteroids, that's number 3 on the list of pathogenic upregulation, bug feeders. When I hear oral contraceptives, that's number 4 on the list. And then we compound that by saying these things drive nutritional depletion, nutrient depletion. And then I'm thinking just simply, because we can only think about one thing at a time. I'm thinking about, okay, I don't want my C levels to be low. I want a strong immune system. But now stress. Now stress becomes a contributing factor. My inability to manage stress becomes a contributing factor to pathogens taking over the house. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am a little bit overwhelmed, because if I'm getting attacked from all those angles, because those are all my solutions, then you are at a deficit. You are behind the 8 ball. And if that is your only tool in your tool bag, it's going to be unlikely that you're going to live successfully with the vim, vigor, and vip, the power to drive the distance and to go that distance for longevity. And so, I'm listening to this, and I'm just seeing even all the overlap from other aspects, because people come in all the time, and they do have underlying bug issues, parasites, viruses, bacteria, yeast. And guess what? When those things are taking over, they are stressing further the immune system, which is then complicating your nutrient load. It's demands go up even all the more.
That's right. Right. So if your demands are going up and your nutrient levels are going down, it's going to create a problem. So one of the questions is, how are those nutrient levels going down? So a lot of, especially like our electrolytes, it's a term that came up over and over in my class this semester was renal hyperexcretion. In other words, the kidneys are just dumping out all of our minerals as opposed to us being able to use them. And so we're in this situation where we actually need more and we're holding on to less. It's like I need more, so I'm going to get a bigger bag, but I got a bag full of holes. Now I've got this bag full of holes, and I can't hold anything. And so I think that's where it starts to feel really complicated, but it kind of goes back. I mean, if you start to go back, we have talked about a lot of nutrient depletions, but a lot of them are B vitamins. A lot of it is vitamin C. A lot of it, so you can
is the D, is the K, and it's things that the cool thing is there's answers. Yeah. Like, we are thankful that we're not handcuffed by antibiotics. We're not handcuffed by corticosteroids or contraceptives. We're not handcuffed by the fact that stress is a real thing that we don't have an answer to. All these things that we're talking about at Living Well, we build clinical nutrition programs that give people a new tool, and then we teach you how to use that tool in moments or long term, because it sometimes is hard for people to make the change. It's hard for people to make the shift back towards, a healthier lifestyle. I always say that people never do what they know how to do. They only do what they know how to do. They never do what they want to do. And until they get the right education. If people teach me how to, live better, think better, play better, perform better, we will get there. We can take steps. Somebody's been down the road. And you need a coach. You need a health provider that's speaking into your life. And at Living Well, we have some of the best clinical trainers to come in and to teach you, coach you, and develop you in areas structurally, biochemically, emotionally, spiritually. I mean, we wear a lot of hats at our office.
Absolutely.
And I think...
And you know what? I think when you say you need a coach, I think we have to be reminded that we need a coach. We coach each other.
That's right.
We have mentor. We don't depend on ourselves and our clinical knowledge, because you get a little bit,
emotionally biased.
A little emotionally biased. You think, I can handle this, and you forget some of the most basic things when you're dealing with and trying to take care of yourself.
That's right.
Because
you need
you
an
think,
unbiased,
I've got
unemotional
this.
attachment to
And so,
your case.
We take care of each other as a team, and I think that's one of the biggest things that we have going for ourselves at Living Well, is that we don't have just one person trying to take care of the whole wide world. We have a team of people taking care of each other so that we can take care of the people that walk through our doors.
Speaking of like a team of people, I mean, we've got a really cool detox coming up, don't we?
We do.
And so, like,
4 weeks, actually.
The Ultimate Detox program is kicking off in 4 weeks. And I just want people to know that, like, get involved. Go ahead and let us know now that this is something that you want to do, because you're going to be mind-boggled on what you learn. We're enhancing the detox this year. We've got some new things in play that I think are going to be very useful and resourceful to help the body just clean up the trash that you've been toting around. And sometimes we need that group experience. And the group experience really is something.
It's so much more fun. My first detox I did by myself, right? I just, kind of bit the bullet finally.
So lonely.
It was very lonely.
And it is. Sometimes you feel lonely because nobody in your house is eating like you. Nobody really in the world is eating like you. You can't really go out to eat with your buddies like normal.
That's what we do in January, because nobody's going out and hanging out anymore. We all ran out of money.
That's right. That's right. And we're trying to recover from all the damage you did in November, December. So you're more willing. But here's the deal. The group Ultimate Detox program is an absolute stellar way to rock the new year and to get off and running in a way that gives you an opportunity just to kind of get on that fast track. You'll lose weight. You'll feel great. Your mind will be clear. Your body will perform better than it's performed in years. You need that vacation from stress and stimulants, and we're going to take you through step by step on how to do it and do it efficiently.
Well, they say that New Year's resolutions, almost everybody has dropped them off by the 31st of January, right? And so one of the cool things about the detox is that in 21 days you do 3 months worth of work.
Yeah.
So even if you cut it off on January 31st, you've done a good chunk of that first quarter, and you can have a little chance to catch up.
It goes back to how efficient the body is. You give the body the right tools for the right length of time, good things can happen. You can literally be a restorer of time nutritionally and health-wise. Turn back time even, because people do. They look leaner. They look healthier, 10 years younger. I mean,
eyes get brighter.
It is so. The conversations they start telling you stories, and they haven't been telling stories in weeks or months or years, and it's just exciting to watch people evolve in a different way, in a different capacity, and be reminded, and us to remind them that 21 days on an Ultimate Detox program is 3 months worth of value to your body's health. And we recommend 42 days a year. So, I mean, you can do more, but we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that at least 2 times, 42 days, and that we don't care if you space it out over 4 10-day runs or 2 21-day runs or 1 21 and 2 10s. I mean, however you want to mix and match it to get there. We want to get you there because we know life happens. See, we've figured out a way to help you navigate all the reasons you can't do it so that you have a justifiable, chance to do it. Because if we can just help you steer around the pitfalls and around the hurdles and around the obstacles, we know that you're going to live better longer. And people need to incorporate this as a model of thinking. If you're not detoxing in the 21st century, you're missing the boat. You're missing a huge piece of your 21st century healthcare plan. We want you to use this as an insurance policy. We want you to use this as a health. I have a lady, she comes in to get her bonus at her work if she hits certain measurements on her BMI and some of her other metabolic matrices through our bioimpedance testing. And so she hits these certain numbers, she gets a bonus at her work. It's pretty cool, right? And so she always does a detox, the Ultimate Detox program, right before she has to test.
Yeah, smart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, she is leveraging her dream team.
Yep.
At Living Well, guys, we are your dream team. We want to be your health and wellness dream team and take you the distance. We want to give you the solutions. We want to give you the tools. We want to give you the support that you need in order to be your very best. What is the date that we're kicking off that class, Jennifer?
So we're kicking off on January 6th, which is a Thursday. We're going to be teaching you the hows and whys of doing the detox. And that's a great class that you want to attend. If it's your first time through, for certain you want to do.
I'd probably say everybody should come because we got some things coming down the
Some new
pike that
stuff.
I think is going to be.
I think they're going to be excited this year. We've got
Excited.
some new things coming. So everybody's going to want to be there. And we're going to do it at Butler's Courtyard where it's beautiful and we have lots of space. And so we're looking forward to being out there. And then that class is on the 6th. And then our first day of our group detox is January 10th. And then every Tuesday for the rest of January, the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th, we are going to be having classes and get-togethers where you can, touch base with some people that are actually doing this, and so you can see and hear how things are changing for people. You can get your questions answered. You don't have to wait for a month for your appointment. You just come to the classes, and we'll talk more about the detox. And so I think we're gonna have fun. So I hope everybody wants to join us because I won't miss it.
I'm telling you, if you miss it, thankfully, there's other ways to go about doing it, but it's a lot of fun when you go through the group program. So we are excited for those that are going to go through it. And at Living Well, we are always just out to give you a resource for better information to apply to your life day in and day out. We want you to steer clear of the drugs. We want you to avoid the surgeries. We want to find solutions that you can count on that do last a lifetime. And we believe that it is food-based. We believe that it is detox. It is integrating these tools that give your body a chance to deburden itself of the debris that you've built up in the body over the last 6 months or a year. And so time moves pretty fast, and we want you to take advantage of the time invested in yourself. You are worth it. You matter. The people around you believe that you matter and need you more than ever. And so we want you to, just take note that going into January, start now even. I mean, you still have in December time to do. I had a lady start a 10-day detox 2 days ago, and she'll be finished right before December because she knew that there's a lot of opportunities for cheating. She knew if she commits to something, she'll do it. She knows her personality type, and she was able to start a program, and she's doing well on it. And I think that it is a knowing of learning how to navigate your own challenges, pitfalls, and obstacles. And because we all know ourselves pretty good. We know what stumbles us and tricks us, and what rationalizations of bad behavior we allow to play. And so at Living Well, be blessed. Know beyond a shadow of a doubt we are here for you. And tune in, not only live, but go back. Gardy, where can they find us?
So you can go back and stream this on all podcasting platforms. Maybe use Spotify, maybe use Apple Podcasts. I use Apple Podcasts. And then you subscribe one time. You just find it. So you can search Just Live Well. You can search Dr. Chapa, Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. Find the logo, hit the subscribe button. You can go back. So earlier y'all were talking about some things, the Immune Alliance. And I was like, I know that's on there.
It is.
It's on there.
It
You know,
is.
it's not the immune system, it's the Immune Alliance. You can go back and listen to all these past podcasts. It's a ton of information that you can go back and redigest, I guess, if you will.
Hey, I like
Get
it.
some extra nutrition for your brain. That
Yeah,
brain
I
knowledge.
like it.
I'm
That's
just
right.
curious. So how many credits am I going to get for this
We're
head
getting
knowledge
through this.
today? Yes.
I don't know. I didn't even
3,
get to
4?
I
Is
don't
this a
know.
lab?
You can have as many as you want.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
We give you.
I
We'll
didn't
give you
even.
at
I
least.
didn't even get to my favorite one, the one that I spent the most time with this.
Oh,
semester.
that's so sad.
So,
Well,
but
you know
we'll
what
do
that
it.
means? We just need to
We'll
do it
come
again
back. We'll come back.
another day. Maybe even next week, since you got 3 weeks off. That'd be fun.
3 weeks off. That's what he calls this. That's
Yeah,
what he calls this.
that's right.
He's like,
It's
"This is a
fun.
That's right.
vacation."
That's just.
Oh, this is a blast. I mean, I come here every week, but I enjoy the head knowledge, but I think it helps us to really just put into perspective the importance of what we're doing at the cellular level. And so I just am excited to be able to keep sharing.
All right. God bless you guys. Have a great one.
This is KHEA Radio.